Hi, I'm Patricia Allingham Carlson, and this is Tulips 2, an end-to-end 4-part series where I share one of my favorite watercolor techniques, starting out with plastic wrap. This really is a lot of fun if you like to play around a little bit in the studio. You'll see me start out using acrylic inks and watercolor together. I'm also using a product called FW white ink. This can be used thick or thin, and depending on how you press it with the plastic wrap, can give you some beautiful textures. After I put down the plastic wrap on the wet paint, I put a weight on it, and you'll see me do this all. When it's dry, I begin to work on the tulips and fill them in. I hope you enjoy it, and if you do, give it a like. You can subscribe to see more as well, and there's links below to some of the products I use, like the white ink, for example. Now on to painting. Oh, what fun I'm going to have today! I am using a plastic wrap ink press. I'm starting out with some candle wax around the edges of my tape on my painting paper because I don't want all this wet ink to run off the paper. Just plain water going on in an approximate location of the tulips I plan to paint. I just finished another painting called Tulips 1, and I wanted to use the plastic wrap to have some fun with the textures for Tulips 2. I have not covered the entire paper with water, only in some spots, and I'll see what happens. Here I'm using some acrylic inks. You can actually see what kind I'm using in my links below. I start in with the lightest colors first. If you use acrylic inks with lots and lots of water, they actually act just like watercolor, but they can add a brilliance and interesting textures that you may not get with watercolor. This is a liquid and it's dropped in or painted on. I'm using Liquitex and most likely FW acrylic inks. These inks are also entirely interchangeable in this very liquid stage with regular transparent watercolors, and they are a fully transparent medium when applied with a lot of water. And here I go into my regular watercolors, and you can see the colors mixed together quite nicely. I'm planning to press this whole very wet painting with plastic wrap, such as what saran wrap or things that you use to wrap up food items. If I don't keep everything wet as I work, the plastic wrap will not make any impressions at all. I hope I don't put my brush into my coffee. These are the tulip flowers I'm painting first. Then I'm putting in some leaf colors. And I am working quickly. Again, I don't want this to dry before I apply the plastic wrap. If it were to start to dry up, I could squirt it with my water bottle, but the more I squirt it, the more it's going to run, and the less degree of whatever control I may have, I will have. The inks are a very concentrated pigment. You can get dark quite quickly if you wish. Another nice thing about using the inks is that they do not fade in color quite as much as watercolors when they are dry. They seem to maintain more brilliance. Now here I've brought in some white opaque ink. It is mixing freely with the other inks and with the watercolor. If I dilute it with water, it will become transparent and mix. If I put it on thick, then it will keep a certain density, and the plastic wrap on it will create some even more interesting textures. So I'm splattering it on directly from the bottle with my brush in a rather random method, as well as painting it into the other colors. This really is fun and free. Spray it down and keep it wet. This almost feels like child's art. And here we go, cover it up. Now I'm trying to arrange the plastic wrap so it will sort of pool the colors in sections over my individual flowers. I could put it down flat, but it might run all over the place, and I'm sort of trying to contain it. And I have achieved some degree of success with this. Now you could see I'm pulling the stems and the leaves down into a more vertical design. With folding the plastic wrap. I really like doing this, and it's something I've worked with for years to try to get better and better at. Once everything's covered, I found it prints the very best if it's also covered with a heavy weight. So I just ran off to get some heavy books. In this case, it took about a day and a half to 2 days to dry. I take off the plastic wrap, and there's my surprise, and boy is that a fun part too. Ooh, that looks rather interesting. Some of my tape came up a little bit. And as you know, you have to keep your tape down to your backing board because otherwise the paper will curl and twist and make all kinds of weird things going on. So press your tape down and keep it taped down as firmly as you can. I use my fingernails, but you could use anything else. I am looking at my reference photo, and starting with the tulips, I'm finding some outlines of the forms. Now, since the plastic wrap has left some patterns, I've found if you follow the natural patterns that are there, it seems to make the whole thing look better. So whenever I can, I use whatever natural lines have been printed into the paper to form whatever I'm trying to form. I decided to make the first tulip in open form, and now I'm working on the second tulip form, which is a closed tulip. Anyone could, of course, use pencil to sketch in this part as well. But I do like to sketch with my brush. We're using light colors. I can take them back off again by a little bit of damp brush work and blotting with a paper towel. But if I use pencil, then I also have to worry about either erasing or incorporating the pencil lines into the finished composition. So this alleviates that entire step. So the first part of this kind of painting creation is just so much fun. But then you have to work to make it into something if your idea is to not make a total abstract. So it will involve your drawing skills, and it will involve all of your compositional skills as well as your painting skills. Now, as you see, the top of that yellow tulip went flying up rather high, but I decided to just make it a crazy shaped tulip and not worry about it. And with flower forms, you can pretty much go where you want to go as long as it's vaguely normal, quote unquote. And with colors, you can go pretty much wherever you want to go as well. And that's one of the fun things about being an artist, because you could choose to do whatever you want and to please yourself. So here I am using all traditional watercolor on the mixture of watered down ink and watercolor. This brings me to the end of a 2-day painting session, and I will be doing further developing in the next video. But I sure had fun with this one to this point. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching Tulips 2. I hope you will try plastic wrap for yourself, and I hope you have as much fun as I do with it. I always appreciate your likes, and I hope you'll subscribe. You know, if you click on the bell and select all, you'll get a ring each time I post a new video. Your comments are welcome too. They help me to improve my work. There are many links below to some of the products I use personally for you to check out, and I'll see you next video.